Christmas is on its way and everybody wants a DJI Mavic, but it's a very expensive drone. However, there is another option, a very cheap option, nowhere near as capable, but extremely cute. So you may very well recognise this after we unbox it. This is from Banggood and it's the Eachine E58, which may just have taken inspiration from last year's best-selling drone. Already gives you a clue, doesn't it? So this is available from Banggood. It ranges between $35 to $50 because there are a few different options in terms of camera and also battery options. So I think there's a 0.3 megapixel camera and also 2 megapixel camera. But yeah, the box is very straightforward, very small, which gives you an idea as to the size of the drone within here. So let's have a look. So, starting to look at all familiar, anybody? Oh, it's just the cutest little drone ever. Now, I'm sure I've said that about 50 times on this channel about other small micro drones that I've reviewed, but the fact that this is based on a full-size drone really does make it just that bit cuter. So there is a little E58 with its bigger brother, the full-size Mavic, and as you can see, this is just an absolute clone. I do not know how they get away with this. The Chinese are copying the Chinese. I mean, it's a beautiful replica, I must say, even down to the underside of them where they've copied the grills and the vents there. So yeah, I mean, it really is a beautiful bit of engineering. Of course, it's a beautiful bit of design as well, but DJI designed it, not Eachine. So anyway, yeah, there's the similarities, very, very similar. Of course, it's not going to fly anything like this thing. So let's get on to inspecting this in more detail. So of course we've got the folding arm design like the traditional Mavic, where the arms fold out in a similar way, although the rear arms don't pivot up and out like they do on the proper Mavic. But with the arms unfolded, you can see that this really is a proper little Mavic replica. Now I'm sure that when you're out and about flying this, some people who know nothing about drones are going to come up to you and say, oh, is that a Mavic? Perhaps you can pretend that it is, because it is just so cute. On top we've got a pretend battery here. Now this does not come out, although it looks like it might do. The real battery is actually on the rear here, and you remove that simply by pulling up and out like that. Just on the side of the battery is a tiny little USB port as well. So to charge these batteries, you just use basically any generic mobile phone charger, which actually is quite nice, or you can use the USB charger that's bundled with it. The battery fitted inside here is only a 1S and it's a 500 milliamp, so probably expect about 5 minutes flight time from this, although it is quoted to be 7 to 9 minutes, which does seem a little bit long to me, but well, we'll see. These little models do tend to surprise us. So just looking around that battery bay, you'll notice it even has the little brackets that the real Mavic has that it sits on when you put it down flat on a surface. But it has no sensors underneath. The only autonomy that this actually has is altitude hold, so that at least it will maintain its altitude when you're flying it. On the front, we've got the camera. Now, we do have the 720p version here, so I'm guessing that that is the 2 megapixel one. And the camera is tiltable as well. So with your finger there, you can just tilt it up and down. But of course, it's not tiltable electronically during flight, which is a bit of a shame. Also, what's really nice to see is because this is the 2 megapixel, the higher resolution model, there's a little SD card slot there. So that means that when you do capture your footage, rather than it being low grade and streamed back to your smart device, it's going to be stored actually on the SD card. So it's going to be much higher bitrate, much higher quality as well. Then on the ends of these lovely Mavic arms, we've got some tiny little brushed motors. They are geared, and there's a little gearbox just in the tip of the motor here. The actual motor itself runs sideways in the arm. And yeah, these arms are nice and rigid, very solid. And then finally, just on the rear, we've got a little LED there. Also, just beneath the light is a little antenna. That's for the 2.4 gig control that connects it to the transmitter. And yeah, I think we've got 2 LEDs on the front as well, where the pretend obstacle avoidance sensors are. Obviously, this doesn't have obstacle avoidance, but I tell you what, in a couple of years, there'll be drones this size that can probably perform just as well as the actual Mavic does. So watch this space. So generally it's really well made, it's a lovely little clone, it's a very clever reproduction. If you know somebody who has a Mavic, this might actually be quite an entertaining Christmas present for them because they can fly this indoors. So that's really it. We're going to get onto the transmitter now and then we'll take it out for a test flight. So as with the actual aircraft itself, this is also a bit of a replica of the Mavic transmitter. I doubt that these antennae are at all functional, but we'll put them up because it looks better. So we've got lots of buttons on here. Also the rear of it down here at the bottom pulls out and acts as your mobile phone support. So you can actually then clip your phone in there. And then you've got your live preview. So actually that's quite a nice design actually in all reality. So we're not going to worry about that until the test flight. But looking at the buttons on this transmitter, now they're always a little bit confusing, the layout of these buttons, I think. But we've got lots of options here. So you've got your main analog controls. In the middle, we've got our power button on and off, obviously. Then in the middle, we've got these buttons which are A for takeoff and the bottom button for landing. So auto landing and auto takeoff. On the right hand side we've got adjustment buttons, and that's for adjusting for any drift that we might have, because obviously this has no GPS control at all. Then the two top buttons here are also for fine controlling and trimming the drift on one of the other axes. Now I'm not sure which axis that is, but we'll have a look at that during the test flight. Finally, on the top, we've got some shoulder buttons here as well. The manual's not particularly clear, so it might take a bit of experimentation, but essentially we've got a one-key return and headless mode. We're going to ignore that side entirely because they are pointless on a drone that doesn't have GPS. And on the right-hand side, we've got high and low speed, and then also a 360-degree flip button. And I think this one's going to be quite good at acrobatics because it weighs nothing. So that's your transmitter. Obviously on the back we've got a little battery compartment as well, and we'll pop some AAA batteries into there before the flight. So I think it's time to get the app installed and then take this out for a test flight. Now I have to kind of pinch myself every time I look at this tiny cute little drone and I just wish that this was actually the Mavic. Imagine if it was this small with 4K, but one day that will come. So let's flight test this tiny cute little thing. I'm gonna fold the arms out first. It's so cute. I should have brought the actual Mavic down with me. Turn it on by pressing the button on top, and obviously that will now start emitting its Wi-Fi. So what I can now do is connect my wireless to the drone, which should start emitting shortly. Now whilst it's just doing that, important to also add that of course it has an SD card, this one, which I've put in there. It's a 32 gig SanDisk. So it'd be really nice the fact that this records the footage straight to an SD card. And actually I have to confess, I've looked at the footage already and it's not bad quality. It's 720p, you can't really expect much more than that. You can also see I've put my phone in the docking bay here. So now that we're connected up, we can use the app, which is called JYUFO. There are so many of these little UFO apps. There we go. Right, we've now got our live feed from the phone. Yeah, quality is very degraded for the live view, but that's to be expected pretty much. So what I'm going to do is start that recording. And now what I'm also going to do is turn on the transmitter, throttle up to full and back to naught. We're now armed. So I think it's time to take off. So what I'm going to do as soon as I've taken off is do a failsafe test obviously first. But okay, press the auto takeoff button and here we go. Actually, camera tilt. I've tilted the camera level at the moment. I'll tilt it down a tiny bit so that we get some footage of the ground when we're up there. Okay, that should be good. Quite a lot of fisheye on this camera, I notice as well. Right, auto takeoff. Here we go. Wow, that was quick. Oh, it's so tiny and cute. What a stable hover. That is lovely. Now I'm going to trim it first of all by using the buttons on here, because you see it's drifting away from me at the moment. I don't want that, so let's bring it over here. Still a bit more, and a little bit of back. Now, when you're flying these brushed drones, I would say the best thing to do is to trim them first, as I'm doing here, just with the buttons, to make sure that the drone is not drifting and that it's nice and static. So there you go, you can see that now. I can walk around that drone, hands off the controls at the moment, and it's absolutely, or virtually static. A few more adjustments to make perhaps, but wow, what a lovely stable flyer. Very, very nice. Love the little LEDs on the front. Hopefully you can see me as well. In fact, there you go. If you see the live video feed, you can see just how steady that footage is actually. Incredibly steady. Right, so let's first of all do the failsafe test. So I'm going to hold on to the bottom and turn the transmitter off. And let's see what it does. And there you go, a few seconds and it cuts. So that is great. Love that, very good, nice and safe. So we're going to take off again. Not ideal takeoff pad here, but hey, throttle to full, throttle to naught, and up we go. Very nice. Okay, so now that we're sure that the failsafe is working nicely, I'm going to take it on a little fly around. Now, first thing I'm going to do actually is put the sensitivity up to, let's see, second mode I want, really. Now, the only problem with this transmitter is that it's pressing the power button on my phone, which is causing it to go a little bit mad. So I'm going to take the phone out of the transmitter actually and leave it down there, but leave it recording, of course. Okay, so record footage. There we go. So it's now recording, and I'll leave that recording on there. The little white LEDs at the front of this look really nice. Sensitivity controls don't seem, oh yeah, okay, sensitivity's on the right hand side. There we go, look at that speed now, that's going much better. It does look like a little Mavic in the air. Very, very quiet drone as well, very quiet indeed. If I just do a fast pass. Yeah, very, very quiet. And it looks so good in the air. Do another little pass. This is at full sensitivity at the moment. You might see a hot air balloon over there in the distance, just about to take off. So this flies, whoa, nearly hit myself in the face. Should have fitted the prop guards. Flies really, really, really well. And I must say, I love my brush drones. I was a bit apprehensive about whether this one would be able to fly outside, and there is no wind today, but it's flying really, really well. I think you would struggle though in a little bit of wind. Altitude hold is working nicely as well. Look at that. That's great. Right, so we've got video recording. Let's go for a bit of altitude. Now, the other thing I noticed about this, very similar to the Mavic, you watch when I let go of the pitch, it auto brakes like the real Mavic. You see that? So this, remember, this has no position hold or anything, but like the real Mavic, it auto brakes when you let go of the pitch. So if I fly it towards us, you watch this. Let go now. There. That's pretty cool, isn't it? It's very, very steady, this drone. I mean, it's really, really solid. I'll let go again. I mean, it comes to a standstill. That's really impressive. Right, let's get some height. In fact, just before we do, I'm going to stop and start recording in case we get disconnected for any reason. And start recording again. Getting some lovely footage now that you can see on the screen. And I'm just going to trim it a little bit more, just so it's nice and steady when we get it up in the air. That's nice. Right, so let's go for some altitude. And I think on a day like today, it's going to look beautiful. Looks like no restrictions on how high this one can fly. Oh, I say that, but no, yeah, it's still going. Ah, now it does have an altitude limit. Now that's very similar to another drone called the Doming drone, which also had an altitude limit. So this seems to be a new thing that manufacturers are imposing. Now, bear in mind, this has got no position hold. I'm giving no inputs right now, and that is sitting there on the spot. It's not moving, which I'm absolutely amazed by, actually. The video footage you can see now as well is really still, and if I do a slow pan, I'll try and do a slow pan. Okay, easier said than done. So when I'm yawing here, it is actually drifting quite a bit, unfortunately, but there you go, that's a fairly slow pan. Really impressive. Let's bring it back to us. And I've got flashing lights on the front now. You see the little LEDs there are flashing. That's probably a sign that the battery is hitting the end of its of its capacity. Oh, they've stopped flashing now. So in fact, maybe that's to do with the altitude limit. This transmitter, by the way, is lovely. These analog sticks feel just like the Xbox controller sticks, almost identical. We're getting on for a really long flight time here, and it's still going. Now, I can't recall whether this one had a flip mode or something. Let's have a look if I can find it. No, that's sensitivity. Maybe that one. No. Oh, okay. That's the emergency stop button. So that was my fault. Let's try again. From the hand this time. I love this little drone. Yeah, I mean, battery is going to go soon. So really, just in conclusion, what a great little drone. It's not a Mavic. I never said it would be. It looks like it. It'll never give us good video quality as a Mavic, clearly. Oh, and there we go, there's the battery gone. So it just auto lands when the battery dies. Yeah, it's not a Mavic, but you know, if you've got a Mavic and your little son or daughter wants one as well, well, I'd highly recommend this one because that is brilliant. And hopefully the video you've seen is not too bad either. That's come straight off the SD card on this little thing. But yeah, a really well-built drone, a great looking drone because obviously it's styled on the Mavic, and brilliant fun to fly. I'll leave some positives and negatives on the screen for it right now. Links to buy it are in the video description, and it's probably on offer as well with Christmas and Black Friday, obviously. So click those links, support our channel, comment below with your thoughts, click a thumbs up, and finally, of course, subscribe. Thanks very much for watching.